Hello everyone. Today I'm going to tell you a story about a girl who discovered her boyfriend wasn't just cheating, he was shamelessly using her as a live and Maid and personal ATM to fund a secret sordid life. But she didn't just cry and pack her bags, oh no. She didn't get sad, she got strategic. With the help of her brilliant, equally ruthless cousin and her ride-or-die best friend, she orchestrated a takedown so epic, so financially devastating, and so psychologically brutal that he was left completely broke, professionally exposed, and utterly publicly humiliated. If you're ready for the ultimate story of meticulously plotted revenge, make sure to like and subscribe, because you won't want to miss a single detail. Let's get into it. Liam and I had been a couple for 3 years. The first 2 were the definition of unremarkable. They were fine, even comfortable. We weren't setting the world on fire with some grand passion, but we got along. We built predictable life together, or so I naively thought. But that final year, the comfort curdled into a full-blown psychological nightmare. He transformed almost overnight into a paranoid, controlling, and deeply insecure monster. It began subtly, with him snooping through my phone while I was in the shower, an act I discovered when I saw the apps in a different order. When I confronted him, he turned it around on me, accusing me of being and asking what I had to hide. Soon it escalated to constant, frantic interrogations. Where was I every second of every day? Who was I talking to on the phone? Why was I 5 minutes late coming home from work? If a male colleague sent a completely innocent, professional message about a work project, he would erupt in a possessive, jealous rage, and accusing me of having a secret office affair. It was utterly suffocating. The gaslighting became his primary mode of communication. In front of our friends, he'd make these sharp, passive-aggressive jokes about me cheating, little digs designed to undermine my character while painting him as the witty, long-suffering, and patient boyfriend. I remember one dinner party vividly. A friend asked what I'd been up to, and before I could answer, Liam chimed in, "Oh, just her usual routine work, Jim, and her weekly meeting with her secret lover," he said with a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. The table went awkwardly silent. When I tried to talk to him about it later, expressing how humiliated I felt, he'd flip the script with masterful precision. Suddenly I was being too sensitive. I was overreacting. Only guilty people get this defensive," he'd say with a smug, condescending little smirk. It was textbook psychological warfare, and it was deliberately and effectively driving me to the brink of insanity. The painful, agonizing, and infuriating truth: I never cheated. Not once. I had been nothing but completely, foolishly, and transparently loyal. He, on the other hand, was projecting with the force of a cinematic projector. He was building a prison of accusations around me, not to protect our relationship but to hide the fact that he was the one living a double life. It was my best friend Dana who finally blew the whole disgusting charade wide open. We've been inseparable since high school, the kind of friends who are more like sisters, bound by years of shared secrets and unwavering loyalty. One night, while Liam was supposedly working late, yet again, she came over to my apartment. I was at my absolute breaking point, recounting his latest paranoid tirade. I showed her the frantic, all caps texts where he had accused me of meeting up with another man because I had taken 15 minutes too long at the grocery store. He was genuinely convinced I was having a secret trust in the frozen food aisle. Dana went quiet, her normally expressive face shifting from sympathy to a look of grim determination that I couldn't quite read. Then, without a word, she slid her phone across the coffee table. And there it was, plain as day: Liam's active, verified, and very busy dating profile. His bio was a masterpiece of audacious fiction, claiming he was single, emotionally available, and looking for some no-strings-attached fun. My entire world, the one I thought we had built together, just tilted on its axis and shattered into a million pieces. Dana gently explained that she had suspected something was wrong for weeks. A friend of hers from work had actually matched with him on the app. This friend, recognizing Liam from photos on my social media, had immediately tipped Dana off. Dana, being the tactical genius and fiercely protective friend that she is, didn't come to me with just a rumor. She had started her own covert operation, collecting evidence, making sure everything was airtight before she dropped this life-altering bomb on me. That night, fueled by a potent cocktail of profound heartbreak and pure, unadulterated, white-hot rage, we hatched a plan. Crying into a pillow wasn't going to fix this. Revenge would. Dana would create a fake dating profile, a catfish account so convincing it could fool anyone, and match with him. We didn't just want to confirm his cheating. We wanted to see just how far he would go, just how deep his depravity and disrespect truly ran. It took less than an hour. They matched, and he, like a starved fish, the messages he sent were a disgusting, relentless fire hose of sleaze, lies, and stomach-turning compliments. He told fake Dana that he was completely single, that he was trying to escape crazy ex-girlfriend who just won't let go. That's me, by the way, the woman who was at that very moment paying for the roof over his head. When Dana, through her fake persona, asked the logical question, why he didn't just break up with me, his response made my blood run cold and my vision go reddy. She pays half the rent and does all the cooking and cleaning. Why would I give up a sweet deal like that until I find something definitively better? He didn't see me as a partner, he saw me as a convenience. A leaven made with financial benefits, a stepping stone. Then, as if that wasn't a deep enough betrayal, he started sending her screenshots of his chats with other women, bragging about his conquests like a high school jock. In those chats, they openly, cruelly laughed about me. They mocked my appearance, my personality, my very existence. He called me names I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, names that still echo in my head late at night. One message from him, which he sent to a girl he'd met the week before, read, "I literally have to hold my breath when she tries to kiss me, I nearly gag." The girl replied with a string of laughing emojis. "OMG, you are a saint for putting up with that. I would have been gone months ago." And he answered, "It's complicated, but trust me, not for much longer. Promise." And all this time he was sleeping in my bed, eating the meals I spent hours cooking after my own long day at work, wearing the clothes I washed and folded for him, all while I was bending over backwards to prove my loyalty, to be the perfect, supportive girlfriend he was accusing me of not being. He wasn't just cheating, he was methodically, gleefully stabbing me in the back, over and over, and then showing off the bloody knife to strangers for validation. I didn't confront him. Oh no, that would have been too easy, far too merciful. A screaming match would have given him a temporary release. I wanted something permanent. Dana and I were in absolute agreement. We didn't just want proof, we wanted a plan. This was no longer about winning him back. God no, that ship had sailed, hit an iceberg and sunk to the bottom of the ocean. This was about making him pay. This was about systematically crushing him so completely, so thoroughly that he would regret the day he ever underestimated me. So for the next few weeks, I transformed. I became an actress worthy of an Academy Award. I played the role of the perfect, doting, utterly clueless girlfriend. Dana, my brilliant co-conspirator, kept chatting with him through the fake account, her digital puppet master reeling him in deeper and deeper into our web. Meanwhile, I'd smile and kiss him goodbye in the mornings, the taste of his lies like ash and poison in my mouth. I kept making his favorite dinners, steak, roasted potatoes, the works, while imagining him describing how disgusting I was to another woman. I folded his laundry, pretending that everything was perfect. When he accused me of flirting with the pizza delivery guy, a 17-year-old kid who literally handed me a box of pizza and ran back to his car, I even apologized, my voice dripping with fake, wounded sincerity, but inside I was a cold, calculating machine, taking meticulous mental notes for the reckoning that was to come. One night, he stumbled home late, well past midnight, floral perfume I didn't recognize. I casually, gently mentioned it. "Oh, that's a new scent," I said, my tone light and breezy. He exploded into a volcanic rage. He called me paranoid, and said that I clearly needed professional help. He even had the sheer audacity to claim that I must be depressed because I hadn't been myself lately. I just smiled, nodded, and apologized again, letting him believe he had successfully gaslit me once more. But that little episode, that blatant and insulting performance of righteous indignation, went straight onto my ever-growing list of reasons why he had this and so much worse coming to him. I began a covert forensic investigation into our finances. We had a joint account for our shared bills, but Liam had a separate, private savings account that he guarded like it was the key to eternal life. He was always bragging about his impressive financial discipline, about the substantial nest egg he was building for our future. What a complete and utter laughable joke. His bank statements, which I managed to access through a series of educated password guesses based on his dog's name and his birthday, told the real sordid story. There were huge cash withdrawals on the very nights he claimed to be working late. There were charges from fancy, expensive restaurants, boutique hotels, and high-end gift shops littering his transaction history. That's when I knew exactly how to dismantle him, piece by agonizing piece. I would hit him where he was most vulnerable, where his entire sense of self was located, his ego and his bank account. I knew I needed more firepower, a secret weapon. I called in my cousin, Maya. People always said we had a striking resemblance, but Maya was the upgraded, premium version. Taller, more glamorous, with an effortless, magnetic confidence that turned heads in every room she entered. She also owed me a massive favor after I had spent the better part of a month acting as her personal therapist, helping her piece her life back together after a soul-crushing breakup the year before. I convened an emergency war council with Maya and Dana at my apartment and laid out the entire, sordid and disgusting story. Maya was incandescent with a protective, familial rage. She said what Liam was doing wasn't just cheating, it was a campaign of calculated emotional abuse, and she was absolutely right. Dana then presented her with the mountain of evidence, the screenshots of vile messages, the active dating profiles, the lies stacked upon lies. Maya couldn't believe the sheer two-faced audacity of him. The way he played the wounded victim to me while treating me like human garbage behind my back. By the end of our 3-hour summit, the raw, bleeding hurt I felt had crystallized into something cold, hard, and Ray was focused. I was calm, I was ready for war. That night I watched Liam from across the living room, a smug, self-satisfied smirk playing on his lips as he furiously texted on his phone, probably telling some new girl how disgusting I was while simultaneously preparing his next baseless accusation of infidelity against me. And in that moment, the entire glorious and diabolical plan clicked into place in my mind. I wasn't just looking for simple payback anymore. I wanted to utterly annihilate his self-worth. I wanted him to regret every single cruel word, every condescending smirk, every lie, every single betrayal. I wanted to hit him so hard in the exact places he was most vulnerable that he would never ever recover. And Dana and Maya, they were all in. What the three of us planned next was something straight out of a Hollywood thriller. Except this wasn't fiction. This was my life, and I was finally taking back the narrative. Step 1 of our masterpiece, Maya run into Liam at his gym. He was a creature of pathetic habit, hitting that trendy, overpriced downtown fitness club every Tuesday and Thursday like clockwork. He claimed it was for training and gains, but I now knew it was just another one of his hunting grounds for unsuspecting women. Maya got a guest pass through a friend, and the three of us studied his routine like military strategists. Liam, in his infinite and predictable vanity, loved posting gym selfies with timestamps on his social media. So predictable, so stupid. We knew his schedule down to the minute. Maya would position herself on the treadmill directly in his line of sight from his favorite weight bench. On the first day of what we had dubbed Operation Takedown, Maya wore a pair of fluorescent leggings, so catching they could have caused a multi-car pile up. She texted me from the gym. Target acquired. He's been staring like a starved dog in a butcher shop since the second I walked in. And just as we had predicted, Liam accidentally bumped into her near the water fountain, launching into some cheesy, rehearsed small talk about protein shakes and workout splits before asking for her number to share fitness tips. But that evening, he was already blowing up her phone. I sat with Maya on my couch, reading every Espripper message in real time as Dana arrived with a celebratory feast of takeout and wine, our official supplies for psychological warfare. His texts were painfully generic, a predictable fire hose of cringy compliments about her body and clumsy, unsubtle questions about whether she was single. The absolute beauty of the plan was its elegant simplicity. Liam had absolutely no idea that Maya was my cousin. We had a family resemblance, sure, but it was the kind of thing you'd only notice if you were really paying attention, if you cared enough to look closely. And let's be brutally honest, Liam hadn't truly paid attention to me, the real me, in years. He was so blinded by his own cavernous ego and insatiable lust that he couldn't see the perfect, inescapable trap being laid right at his feet. The plan was simple, brutal, and if I do say so myself, brilliant. Maya would date him. She would let him get completely and utterly obsessed with her. And then, she would methodically, systematically, and ruthlessly make him spend a fortune on her. All the while, I would continue to play the loyal, doting, and utterly clueless girlfriend, secretly watch and zealfully dug his own financial and emotional grave. Their first date was just 3 days later. Liam told me he had a mandatory, last-minute work function. I smiled, kissed him goodbye on the cheek, told him to have fun, and then the moment his car was out of sight, I drove straight to Dana's apartment, where we followed the entire sordid evening through Maya's text. He took her to one of the most expensive, exclusive restaurants in the city. The very same one I had begged him to take me to for our last anniversary, the one he had always claimed we couldn't possibly afford. Maya reported that he ordered the most expensive bottle of wine on the menu without even looking at the price, and then proceeded to brag nonstop about his high-paying job, his gene investment strategies, and his impressive savings. Then, with a level of shamelessness that was almost admirable. Basically single, and just in the process of wrapping up a dead-end, passionless thing. When Maya sent us a selfie from the opulent marble bathroom of the restaurant, looking absolutely flawless and radiant, I felt a sudden, violent wave of nausea. Watching my boyfriend wine and dine my beautiful cousin while I sat on Dana's worn-out couch eating stale popcorn was one of the most surreal and painful experiences of my life. But every time a pang of guilt or doubt threatened to surface, Dana was there, a firm hand on my shoulder to remind me. This is just proof of who he is. This isn't about you, and soon, he'll be paying for all of this. Literally, weeks that followed, Liam fell for Maya hard and fast. He was completely and utterly infatuated. He started canceling plans at the last minute to see her, staying out later and later, and coming home with that smug, secretive, and intensely punchable grin on his face. And Maya, our secret agent, kept us updated with every single sordid detail. At first, the spending was relatively minor. A few nice dinners, a pair of concert tickets, some small, thoughtless gifts. But Maya was a master of the long con. She'd casually, innocently, mention a beautiful necklace she'd seen in a store window as they walked by, and the very next day he was dropping hundreds of dollars on a pair of diamond earrings to impress her. She'd talk wistfully about a romantic getaway she'd always dreamed of, and he'd immediately start looking up 5-star hotels online. The best part, Maya would forget her expensive gifts at his place, claiming she was so forgetful and didn't want to lose them. In reality, it was a strategic move to ensure he could never ask for them back when the time came. She would then bring the entire haul straight to me. Our treasure trove of his betrayal. By the end of the first month, I had a secret stash of his guilt-expensive jewelry, designer handbags, and even a luxury watch, all purchased with the very same money that Liam had once claimed he was diligently saving for our future. Maya even developed a brilliant system for extracting cash. Liam, in his desperate attempt to look like a big shot, would insist on paying for everything on his credit card. She would then offer to give him her half in cash, an offer which he, the macho man, she would then Venmo that same fund money directly to me. We called it our revenge fund, and it was growing at an astonishing and deeply satisfying rate. One weekend, Liam announced they had to attend a mandatory business conference in a charming beach town 2 hours away. In reality, it was a luxury, all-expenses-paid getaway with Maya at a 5-star resort. She told him that she'd need about $800 in cash for spending money, for spa treatments, for shopping, for all the little extras. He handed it over in a crisp stack of bills without blinking an eye. That very same money funded a full, glorious spa day for me and Dana back in the city. We got deep tissue massages, hydrating facials, manicures, pedicures, the works, all courtesy of the man who was at that very moment actively cheating on me. We even posted pictures of our spa day online, knowing full well that he never bothered to look at my social media anymore. Meanwhile, his lies to me were getting more and more elaborate and insulting. One time, he even had the audacity to claim that his mother was sick and he had to go take care of her for the weekend. In reality, he was at a luxurious vineyard resort in wine country with Maya. The delicious karmic twist. His perfectly healthy mother called me that very same weekend to invite the two of us over for a family dinner. I had to quickly invent a story on the spot, telling her that Liam had a terrible, debilitating case of food poisoning and couldn't possibly leave the house. Keeping up the charade was emotionally exhausting. I had to pretend that everything was normal, that I was the same naive, trusting girlfriend. I had to keep cooking his favorite meals, folding his laundry, and smiling when he kissed me with the same lips that he used to kiss my cousin just hours before. The recordings Maya sent me of their conversations were my fuel. Clingy and emotional black hole made my blood boil. But the absolute worst was when he said that he couldn't wait to get rid of the dead weight. That I was like a Ruba that pays rent. When I heard that, I completely lost control for a moment and smashed a glass against the kitchen wall. That recording solidified my resolve. This man didn't just deserve to be dumped. He deserved to be utterly and completely destroyed. Our plan was working more perfectly than we could have ever imagined. Maya managed to convince him to buy her a brand new, top-of-the-line iPhone. Kept dying. She handed it to me the very next day, a much-needed upgrade from my old phone with its cracked screen. She got him to splurge on a pair of designer shoes in her size, which, what a coincidence, just so happened to be my size as well. She even got him to pay for an expensive weekend yoga retreat that she couldn't attend at the last minute due to a family emergency. So Dana and I went in her place. Around the 2-month mark, Maya launched phase 2 of our operation. She started talking to Liam about how incredibly stressed she was at work, a new tactic. She claimed she was on the verge of burnout and desperately needed a real, proper, and incredibly luxurious vacation. She began to casually, wistfully bring up exotic tropical destinations, the very same places that I had mentioned wanting to go to over the years, knowing full well that Liam never remembered a single word I said. One night, on a particularly expensive date that he absolutely could not afford, she broke down in perfectly executed fake tears, confessing that she had never been able to afford a proper, luxurious vacation in her entire life. Of course, Liam, ever the desperate, to please hero, immediately jumped in to fix it. By the end of the night, he had booked a full unrefundable weekend getaway to a fancy mountain resort 3 hours away, paid in full, everything covered. And then came the brilliant, beautiful twist. The day before the trip, Maya called him, her voice thick with fake choking tears, claiming that her grandmother had just been hospitalized and there was no way she could possibly go. Liam was, of course, crushed. The trip was non-refundable, but Maya, ever so thoughtful, told him that he should go anyway, that he had been working so hard and so clearly deserved the break. The moment Liam told me that he would be gone for the weekend on a last-minute, guys fishing trip, I texted Maya and Dana. It was time. Maya had already forwarded me all the details of the resort booking. Early the next morning, after Liam had left for his imaginary fishing trip, I packed my things, picked up Dana, and we drove straight to the luxury mountain resort, the one Liam had paid for, the one he thought he was going to with Maya. We spent the entire weekend living in pure, unadulterated, and guilt-free luxuries, massages, facials, 5-star meals, and a private guided hike, all of which we gleefully charged to Liam's credit card, which was on file with the hotel. We even ordered ridiculous, obscene amounts of room service, including a bottle of champagne that cost more than my weekly grocery bill just because we could. Meanwhile, Liam was at home alone, texting Maya about how disappointed he was that she couldn't be there, meticulously documenting every luxurious, decadent moment, and saved them in a digital folder we had ominously and appropriately named our evidence locker. The game continued. A beautiful, Maya convinced Liam to buy a high-end designer handbag for her best friend's birthday. That best friend was, of course, me. I wore that bag everywhere. He complimented it once, saying it looked expensive. I just smiled and said, it was a gift. Meanwhile, his finances were in a complete and total nosedive. He started complaining about random, unexpected work expenses, and hinted that we might need to cut back a little. The sheer, unmitigated nerve of this man was truly something to behold. Then, in a moment of sheer, horrifying brilliance, we discovered his ultimate betrayal. He had been secretly, methodically, and illegally transferring money from our joint account, the one we use for our rent and our shared bills, into his private one to fund his secret life. He was literally stealing from me to romance my cousin. That was it. Any lingering shred of doubt or guilt I might have had evaporated in that moment. The gloves were well and truly off. Month 4 Operation Drain Liam Dry is where he truly and spectacularly started to unravel. He was so completely and totally obsessed with Maya that he got sloppy. He started leaving receipts from his fancy, expensive dinners with her in his coat pockets, pockets that I would dutifully and silently empty while doing his laundry. He even muttered Maya's name in his sleep one night. I had to bite my tongue, tasted blood to keep from screaming. Then he had the absolute, unmitigated, and breathtaking gall to sit me down for a serious talk about our finances. He looked at me with a sad, pathetic expression and claimed that he was having some temporary cash flow problems. He then had the nerve to ask if I could cover the full rent and all of the utilities for the next month. This man, who was dropping thousands of dollars on my beautiful cousin without a second thought, was now asking me to cover his bills. I smiled sweetly and said, "Of course, honey. Whatever we need to do." The very next day, Maya called him in perfectly executed fake tears, claiming her car had broken down and she needed $600 for emergency immediate repairs. Despite being miraculously and desperately found the money within hours. She then promptly split the cash with me and Dana. But the real prize, the grand, glorious finale. Maya had him completely and totally hooked on the idea of a ridiculously luxurious trip to Bora Bora, a private, overwater bungalow resort where one night cost more than our monthly rent. He didn't have the money, not even close, but he was pathologically desperate to make it happen. I watched from the sidelines with a mixture of horror and grim satisfaction as he began to completely unravel. He started selling his prized vintage guitars on eBay. He pawned the expensive antique watch his grandfather had left him. He even cashed out his entire crypto portfolio at a massive, devastating loss. And all the while he was bleeding money for Maya, he was telling me that we needed to cut back on luxuries, like Netflix and my daily coffee. One night, while he was in the shower, I peeked at his phone and saw something that made my jaw drop to the floor. Liam had taken out a $15,000 personal loan from a high-interest, predatory lender, all to impress a woman he'd known for less than 4 months. All while telling me, his girlfriend of 3 years, the woman he lived with, that we were in a serious financial crunch. That's when I knew the endgame was near. I had already secretly found and secured a new apartment and had been slowly, methodically moving my most important and sentimental belongings out of our shared space. The charade was taking its toll on me, but a self-care day at a hot spring spa, paid for, of course, by our glorious and ever-growing revenge fund, reminded me that my freedom was just around the corner. Lee, looking nervous and agitated, he sat me down and, to my absolute speechless astonishment, he dropped to one knee and pulled out a ring box. He proposed. With a tiny, cheap-looking and frankly insulting ring, he rambled on and on about how he'd been distant and difficult, but now, after all his searching, he realized that I was the one. I was stunned into silence. This absolute certifiable psycho was proposing to me while still actively planning a romantic, 5-star once-in-a-lifetime getaway with my own cousin. Was he trying to lock me down before I found out? It was pathetic. I didn't say yes or no. I told him, with tears of rage disguised as tears of shock, that I needed time to think. He then suggested, with what he thought was great sensitivity and thoughtfulness, that I go and stay with my parents for a few days to clear my head. He wasn't being thoughtful. He wanted me out of the apartment so he could have Maya over without guilt. I played along, packed a bag, and drove straight to Dana's. We immediately agreed to use his pathetic, desperate proposal to our advantage. Maya immediately cranked up the financial and emotional pressure, becoming extra needy and demanding, pushing him to the absolute brink. Then came the final, desperate plea. He asked to meet me at a coffee shop. He looked exhausted, a ghost of his former, arrogant self. He confessed that he was drowning in debt and then asked the unthinkable. He wanted me to take out a loan in my name to consolidate his debts. He framed it as a beautiful, romantic opportunity for us to get stronger together as a couple. I almost threw my scalding hot coffee in his face. Instead, I told him I'd think about it. The trap was almost set. Maya, playing her part perfectly, told him that she had gotten an unexpected bonus at work and could now help fund their dream vacation. All he had to do was finish booking the non-refundable flights and the rest of the resort stay. He did it, borrowing the last few $1,000s from his own brother. The vacation was 2 weeks away. Those last 12 days were a blur of high-stakes, exhilarating tension. I told him that I had spoken to my bank about the loan for him and that it looked promising, but that there was just one non-negotiable condition: I needed to see all of his financial records first. He panicked but reluctantly, desperately agreed. The night before their trip, I told him that I was going to stay with Dana for a few more days to think about our future. The relief on his face was shameless, disgusting, and utterly complete. He thought he was getting away with it all. I walked out of that apartment for the very last time, leaving behind a carefully written, multi-page, and utterly damning letter on the kitchen table. The letter detailed every single lie, every betrayal, and was complete with a greatest hits collection of screenshots of his most vile and disgusting messages about me. The letter ended with a simple, cold, and clear warning if he ever contacted any of us again. The full unredacted evidence folder would be sent directly to his parents, his employer, and posted publicly on every social media platform imaginable. The next morning, the three of us watched from a cafe at the airport as he waited eagerly, expectantly for Maya to arrive. At 8:45 a.m., just as he was a step up to the check-in counter, Maya sent him the final, fatal blow. A selfie, me, Maya, and Dana, grinning triumphantly, our middle fingers raised high with the caption, "Surprise. Hope you enjoy your 17,000 vacation for one. Your girlfriend knows everything." We watched, sipping our lattes as the color drained from his face. We saw the rapid-fire progression of emotions flicker across his features: confusion, disbelief, dawning horror, and finally utter complete and total devastation. He tried calling Maya, blocked. He tried calling me, blocked. He slumped onto a nearby bench, a man completely and totally broken. Before dragging his suitcase full of ridiculous garish tropical shirts slowly toward the exit, his fantasy vacation, his carefully constructed double life, and his entire future all in ruins. He returned to an apartment he was now locked out of, with a letter detailing his sins waiting for him inside like a final unappealable judgment. In the months that have followed, we've heard through the grapevine that he is working 2 dead and minimum wage jobs, desperately trying to claw his way out of the mountain of debt he so eagerly created. The Bora Bora trip was, of course, entirely non-refundable. His credit score is in the toilet, his pride has been obliterated. He had to move back in with his parents. Meanwhile, I am thriving. I am living in my beautiful new apartment. I got a promotion at work and I am surrounded by a treasure trove of designer goods that he unknowingly and unwillingly paid for. Last week, in a final, pathetic act of desperation, he showed up drunk at my new building at 3 a.m., crying and sobbing into my Ring doorbell camera, begging for another chance. I watched the pathetic, grainy display from my warm, comfortable bed, sent the video to Maya and Dana so we could all have a good, hearty laugh, and then I forwarded it to building security and had him removed from the property. I slept like a baby that night, because while he is out there spiraling broke and utterly alone, I am living my best life. That, my friends, is karma, and it is absolutely divinely and deliciously sweet.